All right, this is chapter 5, medical terminology. In this chapter, we'll learn how to use terminology correctly, when to use it correctly, when there could be some misconceptions, and things could get misconceived and misunderstood. But all this needs to be completely useful across all boards, okay? Because our patient care will continue throughout and going to the hospital or the receiving facility. That we use now. We can also use terminology sometimes, and the patient may become highly confused and not understand exactly what's going on, and then you could lose their trust also. So making sure you understand certain terms, acronyms, symbols, and abbreviations are important. So you need to be able to break down each word and prefix, suffix, and a root word, and then medical terminology apps and field guides to look up unfamiliar terms if needed. So most of the medical terms are Greek or Latin in origin. So and a lot of them are named after people that came up with the certain disease that a person's been diagnosed with, or a certain procedure or a certain device. They're usually named after the person that came up with it. All right, antonyms are a pair of words, prefixes, and suffixes that have opposite meanings, and synonyms are pairs that have similar meaning. So prefix appears at the beginning of a word, and a suffix appears after the word root, and then the word roots itself establishes the basic meaning of the word. You have combining vowels that facilitate the formation of new and complex terms. They can combine terms like osteopathy, osteon, and pathy is the suffix. Compound words, terms that contain more than one root word. So electrocardiogram, thermometer, osteoarthritis. So here's some examples of plural endings being changed. There's your topographic anatomy. You've got the transverse plane cutting it in half, the longitudinal way, and then the medial plane is the longitudinal way. You've got lateral, ventral, frontal plane, the dorsal plane. All right. There's the many different cavities of the body, just as a review. And there's directional terms. Directional terms, can be misconceiving. It can be confusing. So if you are using them, please make sure that you use them appropriately and you know how and when to use those. I always make sure it's the patient's right and left, not your right and left. There's an extension and flexion, and abduction and adduction as far as your hinge joints. Adduction is moving the extremity away towards the midline, and abduction moves it away from the midline. All right, there is the sniffing position, the neutral position in A, the flex position in B, and then the extended position in C. So neutral, flex, the chin is a little bit closer to the chest, and the extended position in C, the chin is away from the chest. Okay. Movement and positional turn hyper means excessive movement, supination and pronation, turning palms upward and downward, internal and external rotation, turning the extremity medially toward the midline or away from the midline. So bilateral on both sides, unilateral appears on one side of the body, ipsilateral, the same side of the body, and contralateral is the opposite side of the body. All right, there's the two different areas of the abdominal cavity itself. Most people use the 4 quadrants to describe pain. If you feel the need to use the 9 quadrants, that's totally up to you. Just make sure that you understand whichever method that you decide to use. All right, there's different positions. The A here is Fowler's. B is supine, laid on the back. C is prone, laid on the stomach, and D is in the recover position. Okay. Abbreviation, acronyms, and symbols do sometimes allow for people to talk faster. However, if you do not understand an acronym or an abbreviation, please make sure you're not using it. Make sure it's all within the same population of people that you're using these abbreviations and acronyms for. If not, there may be confusion. 9 out of 10 times the USAR will not be recognized from the norm of receiving facility personnel. But if you walked up to emergency management and said, or fire department, or said, where's the USAR team, more than likely they would be able to point you in the right direction. All right, only use symbols are rarely understood and accepted. Avoid using trailing zeros at their decimal point, but include leading zeros prior to the decimal point. So like 5, I wouldn't write 5.0, I'd just write the number 5. However, 0.5, 0.5 is a whole different measurement as far as the decimal points are concerned. And if you don't know, just write the full term out. That way you've got the whole word there. Here's the table of some abbreviation acronyms. So, be familiar with some common prefixes, be familiar with some common metric conversions, and some common medical abbreviations also. Okay, there's micro, the abbreviation and the prefix for it, milli, prefix for it. So, all right, that's the end of this chapter.